have configured a VM in a Microsoft Cloud North Europe data center. Now you have a VM. It's been configured with the VM1. Right now I'm saying this has been assigned with a two IP address. One is a public IP address, and this got another IP address is called private IP address. So in your college days or in your uh, uh, professional experience, or you may be heard like there are two type of IP address generally it's been using in a normal network infrastructure, right? So few people is already commented here the IP address which you can use in an internet. All of us knows this IP address is basically using for making a network communications, right? Now, if I need to connect each other, for example, like in a normal scenarios, like if I need to make a phone call to my friend, so you used to use a mobile number, right? We cannot use a mobile number or we cannot use a SIM card number in a uh, network or it's been the computer infrastructure or the IT infrastructure. So there we are using a different numbers we are using. That's called IP addressing. You already maybe studied about IP version 4 or IP version 6 type of a classification. I'm not going to spend a time on that, how IP version 4 or IP version 6 is been classified here. Right now, my point is here. It's been like in a Microsoft Azure scenario, there are two type of IP address are generally it's using. One is called a public IP address and second one is called a private IP address. Now, public IP address already you may be knowing. Any IP address, you already aware that you have a class A, B, C, D, and classes it's been available for IP. Now, in a class A, any IP address is starting from 1.0.0 to 9.255.255.255. That is a public IP address. Any IP address starting from 11.0.0.2 126.255.255.255, that also has been a public IP address. So the IP address which can be used in the internet, which can be routed through the internet, that's generally known as a public IP address. That's the external world where you can able to use that kind of IP address. Generally, it's been known as um, public IP address. Generally, this has been provided by the ISP. You may be heard and already knowing that's called internet service providers. This has been either it's been provided by the internet service providers or this has been provided by the IANA. This is the organization is generally is responsible for managing the IP address it's globally. So this is the IP address is being globally using and it's been acceptable in the internet also. In a class A cases is 1.0.0.0 to 9.255.255.255.255. This is one set of IP address is using, or it's been 11.0.0.0 to 126 is been using. 127 generally not using because it's been using for a loopback IP address, so it's not using as a public IP address. In a class B cases, this has been configured with 180.0.0 172.15.50.255 and it's been using 172.32.0.02. This is a 32, okay. 191.255.2.255. This is a class B cases it's been using. In a class C cases, 192.0.0.0.2, 192.167.255 series, or it's been using 192.169.0.2, 223.255.255. Class D and class V is generally using for a broadcast or a multicast. So generally that IP addresses are not used on a public IP address. Right now on the screen, whatever IP address I have pasted or I have written, these are the IP address generally we are using in the internet. These are the IP address which is been routable in the internet one. So the point or the we have been diverted from a point. Right now, we have configured a VM on a Microsoft Azure. So we understood it's by default. All the VM is been assigned with a public IP address. So this number can be from a or it can be from a class B, or it's been from a class C. Who is been deciding that? This has been decided by the Microsoft. You don't have any control over the public IP address. This by default, this has been assigned by the Microsoft itself. Now, one important point you need to remember here. Yes, it's public IP address is the IP address which you can use the internet. The catchy point or the important point as a cloud administrator, you need to remember here, it's public IP address is not a free resource, because in the day one and day two and day three, we found Microsoft has been working in a OPEX mode. What do you mean by OPEX mode? This similar like your Uber or similar like your electricity. Based on the consumption, we have to pay the money to the cloud service provider. It's not Microsoft alone, okay? Even though if you are using other third-party vendors like Google or AWS or Alibaba or HP or IBM, if you're using any cloud service provider, in case if you want to use a public IP address, you need to pay the money to this one. So the important point you need to remember here, public IP address is not a free resource. So there is a amount you need to pay for that. Now, how will you know about the pricing part? So that the reason in the day one onwards, I'm saying, in case if you want to configure any product, you need to refer the Microsoft document. Now, if you go to the Microsoft portal and if you're typing like Azure public IP address price, you will be able to, you'll be getting all the details about the public IP address, how much money you need to pay to Microsoft, and what is the charge which Microsoft is charging for that. So you'll be getting a complete details based on the SKU, how much money Microsoft is been charging per hour or per month, the complete details you'll be getting. Now, end of this session, you need to understand, in case if you're configuring a VM on a Microsoft Azure server, by default, the public IP address has been allotted. Now, right now we are discussing about a hybrid scenario here. In case if you are configuring Windows Server 2022 or a 2019 on a existing on-premises data center or a data room, by default public IP address is not assigned. So I'm considering it two scenarios here. One hand you have in an on-premises one, and another hand you have in a cloud one. In a cloud scenario, you have a public IP address is by default it's been assigned.